And we're back here at the 2025 ADSA, where we're celebrating some of the brightest minds in the industry. And today we're going to be focusing on the winners of the posters and the oral presentations. And for today, we've got Dr. Lautaro Rostoll. Is that how you say your name? Is that better than Bill did? And with Lautaro is Trinidad Fernandez-Wallace.
Perfect.
So, yeah, it was perfect. Awesome. And so you were the winner of the master's presentation. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
it's quite an honor. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about the presentation you gave?
Yeah, so I had an oral presentation. I did that on Monday, and I present about my research on my master program. I'm working with immunity during the transition period of cows. So I present about T cells, T lymphocytes. I don't know how familiar are the people with immunology, or it's too early to talk about that, but I'm focusing on T helper cells, or they are a type of lymphocyte, and how they are changing across the peripartum period. So we know that during the peripartum period we have a lot of physiological changes, metabolic adaptations of the cow going on there, and those cells, they really can sense those environmental changes. So we were interested into knowing how those cells were adapting during the peripartum period, and if somehow those changes could help us to understand a little bit more why the cow is susceptible to disease during that period of time. So that's why I present about.
Okay, excellent. Lautaro, why don't you tell us a little bit about Trinidad? What do you think makes her special? What made her a winner today?
Yeah, I think she had a lot of experience presenting, even though she's been on the program for a relatively short period of time. And then she's always trying to improve, I think. She always comes to the office and say, what can I try to do better? Then she drives for feedback, and then she's very aware of the things that she has to work on. And she always is very excited about her topic, right? It's like the ideal things you look for in a grad student are like having that drive on the topic that they are studying, and they take a lot of ownership on their research. And she always tries to take it to the next level. So like she comes with paper from the human side, from swine models, and then try to integrate all that. And it's a complicated topic because they're talking about metabolism, immunity, physiological changes on the cow as it's calving, and then they have to integrate and put it all together.
Yeah.
And it's only at the master's level. So I've been impressed so far. So that's great.
Yeah, good deal.
Mm-hmm.
So Trinidad, what are you going to do after your master's degree once you get that completed?
Yeah,
What's your plans?
Here, someone convinced me and I'm staying for my PhD.
You're going to stay?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm staying for a PhD as well with Lautaro after my master finished. So that's the idea, keep working on the research area on transition cow immunology, metabolism as well. So yes, more coming on that.
And so then after you get your PhD, any ideas on what you want to do?
Yeah, so I want to keep working with immunometabolism of cow during the transition period. And particularly we want to look at maybe what type of nutritional intervention we can do to try to support that immune function of the cow during that period of time. So we were mostly trying to look at that, trying to integrate that immune function of the cow, nutritional status, and how the metabolic function of those cells are trying to be coordinating all of those functions.
Yeah, excellent. Laura, I forgot to introduce you. I always do that. Laura, introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Scott. I'm Laura Nehus. I'm Technical Services Specialist with Balchem. So I cover the East Coast, kind of supporting sales, and have a PhD from University of Illinois and mostly transition cow research. So
great.
Yeah. Any good questions for Trinidad over there?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking with the T helper cells, do you think that that's something then we can maybe start to use as a marker to identify where we're at in that inflammatory cycle?
Yeah, I think that as I was mentioning, the good thing about the T helper cells is that they are really somehow constantly interacting with those signals that they get from the environment where they are. So they are directly reflecting, which is the nutritional status of the cow, mostly the metabolic status of the cow. So I think that is a marker that we can start using. For sure, we need to do more research about that, of course. More going on the PhD, but yes, that's a good thing that they are constantly changing according to what is the nutritional status or the metabolic status of that.
It's a nice model to study how metabolism impacts immune function under cows in this specific period. Because of that, these cells integrate the signals from its environment, and then they kind of like command systemic immune responses. So when I teach my animal health class with undergrads, I joke that it's the coach of the immune system, because they kind of like overall coordinate systemic responses. And based on that, if there's an intracellular infection, they try to command a branch of the immune system, or if it's a bacterial infection, this is something a little bit different, or if they have to promote tolerance is different, right? So these cells are the ones that are like dictating those responses at the systemic level, and then their metabolic signals that they receive, and then how the metabolism works. Like this is overall for the immune system. It's really important in dictating that those functions are called correctly, right? And then it's really interesting on her research that it seems like there are dysregulations in some of those processes. I don't know if it's a marker that can be, coming back to your questions, overall for farmers, but for sure for research. I think it's a nice model to be able to ask some of these questions.
Very good. And now I did notice in your presentation you did 3 time points for samples, correct?
Yes.
Do you think if we had more time points, like say earlier or right before calving and maybe sometime between that 3 and 28 days postpartum, that we might kind of have a little bit of a better idea? Or what was your thought process with those time points?
Yeah, so I think that if we could have like a closer to calving, probably we will keep catching up that curve, how it looks like once we are right after calving, the metabolism of those cells are increasing. So I think that having the time points closer to calving will help us like to keep constructing that curve that we are seeing there. But it will be also interesting, not only looking close to calving, but also looking like when we are going far away, like trying to see how they are really behaving those cells once lactation is more like stable, or once we are far away from the transition period. That will give us a better idea of the whole picture about how those cells are functioning across the lactation overall. Yes.
I got to tell you, I'm always impressed with the quality and intelligence of the young people coming through the ADSA. We had the opportunity yesterday to celebrate a couple gentlemen that are at the end of their career. And we get the opportunity then to talk to a couple very bright young people at the beginning of their career. And so I really enjoy that about the ADSA. The future's bright for the ADSA, and it's because of people like you. So thank you for joining us today. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
very
guys.
much.
Yeah, thanks for inviting.
Hi, I'm Scott Sorrell. We're back at the ADSA with the PhD oral presentation winner, and I've got my co-host today, Dr. Sean Richards. Thank you for joining us. And the winner of this presentation, I'm not going to introduce you. I'm going to allow your professor, Rafael Neves from Purdue University. Please introduce your student and tell us what makes her special.
For sure. So Ploy is now going through her 5th year of her PhD. Soon she'll be completing her prelim exam. So Ploy is originally from Thailand. She's a veterinarian from Thailand, and she has been doing some great work related to a better definition of the postpartum acute phase response. And we're doing some large observational studies. She's a very dedicated student, like very a great team worker, like an excellent writer, critical thinker. So I couldn't be happier with all her work and her dedication.
Yeah, excellent. Play. Congratulations. Job well done today. So we're going to talk a little bit about your paper that was the winner, but what do you think was the secret sauce that allowed you to win the competition today?
Honestly, I didn't think I won.
Okay.
But I think I had a great time during the competition. Like, I was enjoying sharing what we found, and the questions were very interesting, and I think we had a great conversation with the judges, so I think that played a part.
Yeah. Did you do anything to prepare to your oral presentation, or do you think it was all about the data, or?
I think the data was very interesting, so that helps, and I think this time I did a good job I'm giving myself a pat on the back.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I did a good job
Well, you
of
obviously did.
preparing
You're
the
the winner.
slides.
Yeah.
So I think the visuals helped a lot because the data was kind of complicated, so it was hard to like explain it without good visuals. So I think good visuals really helped.
Yeah, good. So why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about the presentation and the paper that you presented.
So our paper is about relationship between subclinical hypocalcemia, hyperketonemia, and systemic inflammation in the postpartum cows. And we had two objectives. So the first one is we wanted to see if inflammation is associated with the risk of subclinical hypocalcemia and hyperketonemia, because we know that both of them are common in the postpartum, but we don't know if they're associated. And our second objective is to see if cows with both inflammation and metabolic disorders would have lower milk production compared to cows with just inflammation or just metabolic disorders or with neither of those. So those are our two main objectives.
Yeah.
So.
And what was the protocol then? How'd you set it up?
So we collected blood samples from around 500 cows from 2 farms, and we measured haptoglobin at day 1, 3, 5, and 7, and we measured BHB at day 3, 5, and 7, and total calcium at day 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. And for our hyperketonemia threshold, we used 1.2 millimoles per liter of BHB at any of those days. And then for subclinical hypocalcemia, we used a threshold of 2.15 in periparous cows at day 2 and 2.2 in multiparous cows at day 3 or 5. So we just grouped our cows based on those thresholds. And then for haptoglobin, we did like, we modeled haptoglobin with milk production, and we just used increments of 0.1 to find the threshold that gives us the lowest p-value and use that as a threshold.
To help me out here, Ploy, haptoglobin is what?
Oh, sorry. Haptoglobin is an acute phase protein. So it's a protein in plasma that increases during inflammation. So it's a widely used marker of inflammation in cattle.
And your data, did it suggest that haptoglobin was negative for performance and health in the cows?
Yeah, so this is part of another study, and for that study we're looking at the association of haptoglobin with performance, so with milk production and disease and repro, and we were trying to define thresholds for different time points to see which threshold of haptoglobin would tell us which cow is going to do poorly. So yeah, from that we found that haptoglobin is a negative indicator of performance.
How would you summarize the results then? What were some of the key findings?
So we have 2 objectives. And for our first objective, we found that haptoglobin at day 3 was associated with increased risk of subclinical hypocalcemia and hyperketonemia in multiparous cows, but not in periparous cows. And we also looked at haptoglobin at day 1, but that was not associated with metabolic disorders. And then for our second objective, we found that in multiparous cows, cows with high inflammation, regardless of their metabolic status, produce less milk. But in periparous cows, we had a pretty different story. So in the first 2 weeks, it's similar, like the cows with inflammation would do worse, regardless of their metabolic status. But from week 3, things started to change, and then cows with both inflammation and metabolic disorders started to produce more milk, so they became comparable to cows with no inflammation, while the cows with inflammation alone remained the lowest producers throughout the whole 12 weeks.
Okay. Now, when do you graduate? Is it soon? I'm just kind of wondering. The reason I ask is that do you have some follow-up studies planned? And
I'm graduating hopefully next year.
Next year.
But we already did a follow-up study last year, and we're looking at if treatment would be able to attenuate the negative effects of inflammation. So we're looking at giving aspirin to cows and seeing if that would help with milk production and diseases.
Yeah. So graduating next year, hopefully. So no, you will. You're a bright young lady. So what's your plans after graduation?
I'm going back to Thailand to teach at a veterinary school.
Okay, very well. Well, listen, I want to thank you and Raphael for joining us today, and
Thank you,
congratulations Job well done.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Sorrell. I'm here with my co-host, Laura Nihus. Didn't forget you this time. And
Thanks,
we're
Scott.
here celebrating the winner of the 3-minute thesis here at the 2025 ADSA. But before I introduce our winner, I'd like to introduce her advisor, Diwakar Vyas. And so please give me some background on yourself, sir. Tell us all about yourself. And then I'm going to ask you to introduce your student here and what makes her special.
Okay. First and foremost, thank you very much for having us here. I'm a faculty in animal sciences at the University of Florida, and most of our work is focused on ruminant nutrition. We use experimental models that includes dairy cattle, beef, as well as sheep and goat. And the area of research that we do is how we can use some feed additives and optimize the inclusion of these additives to make the entire dairy production systems more economically and environmentally sustainable. And as a part of that research program, we are evaluating some feed additives focused on microbes. And that's what led us to this project that Savita has been leading. And then the second part of your question, which is far more interesting, like what makes her the best student? I think she's a 3-minute thesis winner, so that
Yes.
makes her really special.
Absolutely.
And I will definitely refer to her to explain her project, what she has been doing.
Yeah, for sure. Savitha, congratulations, by the way. So how do you prepare to be a 3-minute thesis winner?
First of all, thank you so much for having here. It's really a pleasure to be here talking with you all. Yes, I did prepare a little bit because, it's really hard to convey things in 3 minutes. And the concept behind this is it should be understandable to a layman. So I need to explain them what I'm talking about. Like my research basically focuses on effects of the postbiotics. And this people are aware of probiotic and prebiotic, and the world of biotics is constantly evolving, and postbiotics is the recent and emerging next generation feed additive. And so my idea, I want to convince them what is a postbiotic, and then I want to explain what are the results. So I did spend some time explaining people what is a postbiotic first of all, and then why we are testing it in a transition dairy cow, and then I explained the results. And I think that way worked because the judges, I got comments from the judges. They were really happy the way I built a story. That's one of the comments. And the comment of the day that I really liked was a person from the food science background. And she told me, like, I'm not from your background, but your explanation was clear and I was able to understand your work. And it was one of the good comments. And a lot of other grad students and audiences connected with me. And it was really good.
Yeah, do you have to practice a lot? Diwakar, did she practice with you?
Well, she did not practice with me, but
Okay.
I know that she practiced a lot.
Yeah, I just practiced to be within the time limit because we have negative points if you go over 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I prepared to limit myself to the 3 minutes because I can talk hours about postbiotics, but not there.
So we'll give you an opportunity to do that. Maybe not hours, but tell us a little bit about your research that you presented.
So postbiotics, basically, these are inanimate microorganism or bacterial lysis, to make it simple, bacterial lysis product or the components synthesized by these microbiomes that can be used as a feed additive. So there's a lot of research that has been done in the human nutrition and also in the monogastric, and because the rumen is very complex, it's very hard to explain what's happening behind the mechanism, what's happening in the postbiotics, and there is a very big research gap of postbiotics in the ruminant nutrition, and our goal is to bridge this gap, and that's exactly what my 3-minute thesis is, like bridging the gap in the transition dairy cows using the postbiotics. And the objective was to supplement this prototype postbiotic in a transition dairy cow and see the effects on the performance, rumen fermentation profile, the colostrum quality, and also we did some immune parameter works. Currently, we are working on the data. We did analyze the nutrient digestibility, the oxidative burst assays, neutrophil phagocytosis. We are trying to, come up with the whole story by analyzing everything, like covering the blood metabolic profile, the liver enzymes, so we can explain better what the postbiotic is doing, trying to understand what's the mechanism going on in the gut in the rumen. Yeah, and yeah, we did see there is an effect in the performance data. We saw there is an increase in the dry matter intake after week 6, and it also led to increase in the milk yield after week 6. And it tended to increase the fat corrected and energy corrected milk as well. And we saw limited effects on the blood metabolic profile. There is effects on the liver enzymes and also the nitrogen utilization as well. There is increased blood urine nitrogen levels, which means a lot of nitrogen that's been, when the amino acids are cleaved, a lot of nitrogen is being released in the body, and the body doesn't want to accumulate the nitrogen because of amino toxicity, so they don't want to recycle it, and there is increased levels of the blood urine nitrogen. Again, it is a very slight increase within the normal range, so this should be considered as a metabolic adaptation rather than seeing when the enzymes are higher, we tend to think there's something wrong with the liver, but it actually is not. It's just a metabolic adaptation going on there.
Very good, very good. That's interesting. So when I first think about postbiotics, especially, I feel like it's something you might hear a bit more in human nutrition, I automatically think hind gut. So maybe in the context of the dairy cow, explain where you're targeting with a postbiotic, and if that is maybe 2 places, or if you're just focusing on the rumen, or kind of where the postbiotics are really targeting.
As you have said, a lot of work has been done in the monogastric space because it's very easy to understand what's happening in the hind gut, but with the rumen, it's really hard to explain. But we did see the effects in the rumen, and we didn't have. It's not a protected, but still, these are the organic acid, the functional enzymes, antimicrobial peptides that has effects in the rumen, and these directly access as substrates in a lot of metabolic pathways, like biochemistry level, and these acts as a substrate for the growth of the microbiome, microbes as well. So we can also say they have a prebiotic-like effect, but it's the question that is the viability of the probiotic microorganism essential to exert its effects, or we just need the product synthesized by them to have a positive effect, because there is a lot of benefits with the probiotic, but still it's very hard to maintain the cold chain, the stability, and the long shelf life is also short. So postbiotic, it overcome all these challenges. It's just a next generation of the probiotic. It overcome all the challenges. It can still carry all the benefits that the probiotic has, with better stability, with more stable, basically.
Yeah. I'll just add one more thing to your question. Like the way our experimental design was, we are more looking into the rumen effect of postbiotics. But I'm pretty sure, we are very sure based on our data that it might have some hind gut effect as well. But other than the blood parameters, I don't think we have measured anything that can give us some insights on what's going on. But other than the performance improvement, what she mentioned, we did see some carryover effect after we removed that postbiotic. So again, that was not a controlled study. That was not a plan of our experiment. But when these animals came off the treatment and they went to the farm diets, we tracked their milk yield, and they were still producing a little more than the control cows. So I think the mechanism still needs to be studied. This is the first couple of studies that have been done in this area. So a lot more work needs to be done. So I think she has generated some great data.
We are trying to connect all the dots. We have a lot of hypotheses, like a lot of speculations, but we need more data to validate
for sure.
that.
Yeah.
We've been doing these now for about 4 years, and I'm always amazed by the intellect of these young students. You've got a good one here, Diwakar.
Thank you very
she's
much.
amazing.
Thank you.
Savitha, tell me, so you're a master's student now at University of Florida. What's the future look like for you? What's your next step?
That's a really good question. I'm in the phase of deciding it. I see myself working in the industry, in the research and development, basically a technical support, and also in the research developing a product or something like that. I would do a PhD for sure, definitely, but I might take a break after my master's, go to industry, look like how it is, and maybe I will come back.
Yeah. Any thoughts where you might want to do that PhD? Are you going to stay at Florida?
You should ask my professor if he's
We would
still...
like to keep her at the UF.
I can understand why. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
you
much.
got a bright future. Thank you for
so
joining
much.
us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're
Thanks
very
for
welcome.
having us.
Hi, I'm Scott Sorrell. I'm here with a PhD poster winner this year at the 2025 ADSA meetings, and that would be Amanda Fisher-Tlustos. Is that, did I say it right?
Yes.
All right,
perfect.
excellent. Congratulations for this year, but not just this year, but last year I understand that you were the oral winner as well, so you're a
Yes.
two-time winner.
Yes,
So you
I
must be pretty good at this stuff, huh?
I try.
So, I'd like to kind of start off, right? What's it take to be a poster winner? What some of the thought processes that go into to designing and creating a winning poster?
Sure. I think it really, when it comes visually to the poster, I try to just keep it more concise. For the intro, even sometimes I've seen paragraphs are written, but when people are in there and there's 200 posters, not everyone wants to read paragraphs. So I try and keep everything kind of short to one line. I keep my methods as short as possible. I just really think what do they absolutely need to know? And even for the graphs, and I try and put, in case sometimes people are looking too when you're not around. So I try and put on the results graphs a little blurb of what this means for the industry or for science in general.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And so what kind of questions do you usually get from the interviewers?
I got pretty practical questions, but I think it also depends on who the judges are.
Got it.
So one of my judges was Dr. Barry Bradford, and he obviously is a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And I was doing mammary metabolism stuff, but energy requirements. So he's very knowledgeable on that. So we were talking about NASM and the requirements of the mammary gland during the dry period. So you can really get anything, depends on the subject area, I think, of the judges.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about the research that you had on your poster? You said it was mammary metabolism, not my area of expertise, but yeah, make me an expert. Tell me all
Sure.
about it.
So the point of this whole entire project, this was just a small part, but it was about characterizing the process of colostrogenesis, or how colostrum is made. But then, of course, you take all these measures and then you go down kind of different routes. So what we wanted to do in this project was look at characterizing dry period mammary metabolism, because in general, we know a little bit about really crude requirements of the energy of energy in the dry period, but we don't know the actual true metabolic rate of the mammary gland based on how it oxidizes two substrates that are key for the mammary gland, which are acetate and glucose. So I wanted to look at that over the dry period and how that could affect colostrum production specifically. So what I did is I had cows. I took the samples every 2 weeks, starting at week -7 relative to calving. So these were dry cows. Then at week -1, I started taking the samples every 4 days until the cows actually calved.
Yeah. So how are you taking these samples?
Yeah, so
Go
the
ahead.
samples were for mammary uptake of glucose and acetate.
Got it.
So I wanted to see what's the gland taking, and is it taking more at certain points than others? And are there potentially key time points where they start taking it up that we can manipulate it? So what we ended up finding, I took the samples every couple days until they calved. Of course, I took the samples during the first milking interval after calving, and then up to 7 days in milk. So what we ended up finding was that the acetate uptake started to increase about 1 week prior to calving, whereas the glucose uptake didn't really start to increase really until that onset of calving. It just drastically took off. And both of them seemed to remain fairly low during that far off period, and glucose really through the entire period. So what I think is happening is the acetate is more important for the redevelopment of the mammary gland that happens before calving, whereas glucose seems to be more important for that lactose production and just that onset of copious milk production. Then what I did is I took the uptake rates and I was able to determine the energy expenditure of the gland based on that. And over the entire dry period, the mammary gland expended a total of 16.3 megacals of energy. So that's really, when you think about it in terms of nutrition, that's not a ton of energy. Really, a cow could eat that in half a day, or probably less if she's really hungry. So really, I think what it points out to us is that we aren't underestimating the energy requirement of our dry cows, which is a good thing. But yeah, and then overall also I wanted to look at potential factors that could influence colostrum production, whether these were cow level factors or mammary level factors. And what we found was that previous lactation milk production was negatively correlated with colostrum production, and so was the far off mammary metabolism. So what I think is happening is we have these really high producing cows. They have trouble drying off,
And then they have high amounts of mammary metabolism in the far off period when they're supposed to have low amounts of that. Because that's the time where the gland shouldn't be secreting any compound. It should be regenerating and getting rid of dead or epithelial cells that aren't as functional anymore and making new ones that have a high secretory capacity.
How do we manage around that? Any ideas or thoughts?
Yeah, so that's a question I got a lot from the judges, and I anticipated that because abrupt dry off is very common, especially in the US. I read a paper that like 75% of our farms are still doing abrupt dry off. So that's obviously a huge problem. In this study, I took them down to once a day milking for a week, and I put them on the dry cow diet, and we still had these cows that were having this problem with high mammary metabolism when it was supposed to be low. So I think the once a day milking is a good strategy. It's better than abrupt. But I was also even reading that there's some papers in 2020, 2021, and what they're doing is once a day milking for day 1, 2, 3, and then they skip day 4 completely. And then on day 5, they do one more time, and then they completely dry them off. And that drastically reduces it compared to even just the once a day.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So is that hard for producers to manage around, do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be hard probably for like a 2,000 or 5,000 cow dairy. Obviously, if you're smaller, things like that could be more manageable. But there also, I listened to a presentation yesterday about it's a polysaccharide compound called chitosan, and it's a natural, and you can infuse it in the udder. So maybe they're going to come out with things like that help promote dry off.
Yeah, it's kind of a natural polymer. I think that chitosan is what's the exoskeleton of insects, isn't that right?
I believe so. I had never even heard of it till yesterday.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, interesting. So what kind of questions do you still have, and any future research planned?
Yeah, in terms of what I also want to look at with the data set as well is how it affected milk production. So I didn't really get into that with the poster yet. But in terms of future, in that project, we took so many samples. We have mammary biopsies at 5 different time points throughout the dry and calving period. So we can look at potential genes that are regulating this period of regeneration and how that might affect colostrum production. We also had prepartum secretion samples as well. So I'm currently writing a paper trying to characterize how protein, lactose, and fat and IgG change over the dry period and how we can manipulate that too.
Fascinating research. I can see why you were a winner. Besides that, you're a very good presenter as well. Make it very interesting and understanding for a neophyte like me. So want to ask you, you're a PhD student right now. When do you plan to graduate?
I'm defending the first week of September.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do after that?
So I have a postdoc planned between UC Davis and University of Guelph.
Okay.
So I'll be doing that, and I'm going to be studying more. I want to get into more cow metabolism. Yeah. So
good. Excellent. Well, congratulations, and thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Hi, I'm Scott Sorrell. My co-pilot today is Dr. Ryan Prolly, and I'm here with the Southern Branch oral presentation winner, PhD oral presentation winner, Bridger Sparks. So congratulations, Bridger. Before we get started, what I'd like to do is introduce your advisor, Dr. Clarissa Strider-Barboza from Texas Tech. Clarissa, tell us what makes Bridger special.
Ooh, so many things. Bridger started working in my lab in 2023. And actually, even before coming as a graduate student, he joined my lab during summer. And I interviewed him spring, I think, 23, right? And he said, yeah, I'll come as your grad student. So I said, okay, how about you start now? Because I have some data you can analyze and present at the ADSA meeting. And he agreed, so so that's how we started. Bridger is special for several reasons. First, he is very prolific. He was very prolific as an undergraduate student at the University of Wyoming. He got a dual degree in animal science and physiology. His major interest was actually nervous system, and I am a fat person, so I work with adipose tissue. So when I interviewed him, I said, how can we work together on this? He's also very interested in endocrinology, so that's how his project, came up, merging the nervous system interest of his with the fat interest of mine, and he can talk a little bit more about the project in specific. He is about to submit his second peer-reviewed paper. So for a second year, actually he just finished second year, correct?
Yeah, I
Bridger?
just started my third.
So I started. So I think this is very good. So
Yeah.
he is very special.
Yeah, good, excellent. Bridget, before we start digging into your research, how do you prepare for winning the oral presentation award? What's that look like?
Well, sitting down with your advisor and your lab mates and letting them grill you.
Yeah? Were they pretty brutal?
Not this year, no. But yeah, it's a lot of, okay, what do you think about this presentation? Or just sitting down, going through things, and just talking them out and understanding, well, do I have the knowledge or do I have the information to be able to provide this answer? Is my presentation well-rounded? Do you see any areas that maybe somebody who doesn't have my specific area may need a little bit more help to understand something, or do I need to guide somebody somewhere?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your project?
So this current project is based off of, as Dr. Schreiber-Barbosa said, I'm getting ready to submit a paper that I worked with Virginia Tech with, looking at changes of the nervous system in adipose tissue over the periparturient period. And so we saw some interesting changes in terms of the protein sheaths that wrap around nerves in order to speed up the signal. And so we were interested in, can we isolate the cells that actually produce that? Is that an area of dysfunction in the periparturient period? So we did some genes, looked at that there was some stable ones in terms of specifically Schwann cells are the cells that we generally think of producing the protein wrapped around nerves. But we started isolating these cells and realized what we were getting was more of, we call them neuro-like cells, because they don't fit the complete profile of just a Schwann cell, but they don't fit into any other category of adipose tissue cells. So right now we're looking at just isolating cells, characterizing them. What do they do in the tissue? How do they use nutrients that are most commonly found in the tissue? Do they become dysregulated under high NEFA amounts or high glucose, things like that?
Are there any practical implications for this research? I'm just kind of curious. Where's this going to lead?
Yeah, so right now, we're obviously building upon very, very basic science. So the long-term goal is to be able to hopefully identify something that we can potentially manipulate these cells in order to alleviate excessive lipolysis in the postpartum.
Got it.
So now, no.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
in
But
5 years. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Well, in your abstract picture, I think I saw you looked at cows with or without ketosis, correctly?
Correct.
Did you see any difference in these it's adipose nerve-like cells or neuron-like cells? Excuse me. Do you see any differences between the biology and the disease state versus non-disease state?
Yes. So the model that we used was hyperketonemia. So these cows weren't necessarily decreased in production or anything like that. So they're just high in ketones. But cells that are isolated, specifically those neuro-like cells isolated from the hyperketonemic animals, they have some increased mitochondrial activation or activation of pathways related to mitochondrial respiration. And then they also have increased neurite outgrowth. There are some major immune differences too between the two. So there are definitely differences between hyperketonemic versus the non-ketotic.
So, Bridger, what you're working through your PhD now. When do you plan to graduate?
The fall of 2027.
I don't know why he's looking at me.
If I could really work everything out, I'd love to graduate next fall of 2026. But
Okay.
right now it's 27.
Any thoughts? What do you want to do after you graduate?
I need to do a postdoc. I'm
Okay.
looking at doing a postdoc in Brazil.
Okay.
But there's also some major...
Do you have a connection or something?
We're working on a
Yes.
connection.
Yeah.
But then there's some major adipose tissue people like Andres Contreras is in
Yeah.
Michigan.
Mhm.
Dr. Seal is over in Penn State, and so, or University of Penn, I believe. One of the Penns.
Yeah, one of the things.
So there's some major adipose tissue people, whether it's in humans, rats,
Yeah.
cows.
Yeah. So you want to stay in research, stay in academia, or yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
As of right now, my goal is to try and get an academic position.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, you're a very bright young man. You got a bright future ahead of you. I want to thank you and your professor for joining us today. The future is bright.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
for
right.
inviting us.
You're very welcome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Real Science Exchange, the pubcast where leading scientists and industry professionals meet over a few drinks to discuss latest ideas and trends in animal nutrition. Hi, I'm Scott Sorrell. I'm going to be your host here for this session, and I've got a distinguished panel with me this afternoon. I'm going to start off down here and introduce Dr. Maurice Eastrich from The Ohio State University. Maurice is the chair of the ADSA Foundation. Maurice, can you tell us a little bit about what the chair of the ADSA Foundation does?
Sure, Scott. Thanks for having us on board here this evening. Now, ADSA Foundation is whereby the ADSA organization, through supporting members, host educational programs, awards for outstanding individuals, whether it's in the foods or the production side, and really tries to support the undergraduate student division along with the graduate student division that we have here with us today, on the leadership side that we're going to learn from. But it's we're in a little bit of a transition too as we continue to want to excel ADSA programming and get commitment throughout people's career to the dairy industry. So we kind of see ourselves as recognizing achievements as well as an incubator hub for new programs in ADSA.
Okay, excellent. To my right here, another distinguished guest, we've got the outgoing president of the GSD, and we got Evelyn Lynn here. So welcome. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about Evelyn?
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Evelyn Lin, and I'm in NC State University, and I'm a second-year PhD student, almost graduate next year. So just a little bit about myself. I'm in the food side, so I'm studying dairy foods. And I'm in the past year, as the president of GSD, I'm happy to work with ADSA, with the ADSA Foundation, with Maurice, as well as the past president Corner and the upcoming president Marinda, as well as the Balcat, the overall foundation and sponsorships. I will say the students are eager to be participant and involved. I still remember when I first come to ADSA at 2022, which is in Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
And I just first time attendee and I don't know what to do, and so does other students. They don't know each other, and we are hesitate to talk each other as well. That's how GSD opened the door to the social and also get us to be famous. And everyone with the ribbons saying we are the graduate students and we are participating in GSD. And we also provide a lot of social activity as well as career development activity events for the students so that they can have their questions to be answered. And also, if there is any thoughts they want to share, they can also tell us. And we do a lot of efforts on the social media so that every student can feel involved and welcome. So that's how I got involved in GSD, and I'm very valuable for this experience.
Yeah. So you're a PhD student. Can you talk to me a little bit about your area of study?
Oh, yeah. So I'm in the studying dairy food functionality. I'm making the dairy products, something like yogurt, beverage drinks, and emulsions. So all different kind of dairy products we made to improve the protein functionality and products stability or quality overall.
Yeah, and so when do you plan to graduate, and what are you going to do after you graduate?
Oh yeah, thank you for bringing this up. I will graduate next year in this time. So if you have any like R&D work or product development job for me, I will be happy to do that.
All right, very well. Who should they contact to find you on LinkedIn?
Oh yes,
All
yeah.
right.
I have LinkedIn and I'm very active on the social and also in our university. You can contact me everywhere. Easy to
right.
find me.
Well, Evelyn, thank you for all that you've done for GSD. Now, you mentioned that you've got, you're passing the baton. Has that happened yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Officially retired
You're
yesterday.
officially yesterday, okay, right. And the new incoming president, Miranda Farricker. Welcome, Miranda. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello. I am just finishing up my third year PhD over at Cornell University. I'm over on the production side, and my research focuses on ceramide metabolism and how it interacts with maternal insulin resistance in lactating ruminants.
Okay.
But very interested in how that ties into efficiency, improving animal productivity, and very excited to be stepping into this leadership role.
Yeah, so what are your plans after graduation?
Well, I'd like to stay in academia, so most likely we're going to be going for a postdoc
Postdoc
first.
somewhere.
And then
have any
moving up
ideas or
from
plans
there.
yet?
There's some ideas formulating, but I'll keep those to myself for
All
now.
right, I got it. I understand. All right. What kind of plans do you have as the incoming president for GSD?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. We're very excited about this upcoming year. We saw a lot of engagement, whether it was participating on committees or people attending webinars or participating in our events here at the conference this year. So really, we're very excited to expand engagement in general, whether that's with international members and helping getting them here with travel grants or finding good programming and speakers that will really bring people in and want to come learn, whether that is technical skills, soft skills, just getting to know people. So really excited to just connect with people and hopefully get more GSD members here to the meeting.
Yeah, excellent. So one of my favorite parts of coming to the ADSA is being able to interact with young people like yourselves. We've been doing this, been doing student spotlights for about 4 years now, I think, and one of the first guys I met was Connor McCabe down here. Connor, it's been about 4 years ago. We met on a pubcast at an ice cream social, and so you are a past GSD president. So tell us about your experience there when you were president.
Yeah, so I was president here in last year's meeting at 2024 when we were in West Palm Beach. My time as a president, you know, I was involved 3 different years. I was production director, vice president, president, now past president. I guess I'm starting your as past president. So the lineage continues on down the line.
Informal title.
Informal title, yeah, informal. I needed a couple other extra ribbons. But, you know, throughout my involvement and my engagement, I've seen interest in student programs tremendously grow, and that's not just from the GSD or the ADSA organization as a whole. That's from industry partners like you. You know, you want to be involved and get students put them forward in front, and we see many other individuals wanting to take that forward. I think we've been able to create a lot of momentum over the past couple of years in time, and wanting to, how do we help increase access to students to get here to the meeting? How do we help them increase access to knowing how to take part here in this meeting? Because things don't really change, but if you come here for the first time ever, it can be a lot to go through these whole 4 days. And so where am I supposed to be? Where am I supposed to be at what time and what is going on? That's a big struggle. And that's what we try to work through part of my presidency and some of the things that have been continued on. And, you know, I look back on it, it's a absolutely amazing opportunity for me. Just the number of individuals I know come here to this meeting throughout my time. I'm probably the only student here that this is my 11th ADSA if you count virtual ones.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And you look at 11 and that's like, you know, some people think that I've been in industry for 5 years, and that's not true. I'm still a student, but that's just because I've been coming since I was a freshman at that time. And, you know, I've seen this meeting grow and change over time, and I think right now is a good time to be involved in ADSA. And things are on the upward swing for dairy science for sure.
Yeah, Connor, you've been a great leader for GSD and blazed the trail for these fine young ladies, and I'm sure they'll carry on very well. I guess one thing I'd like to do as we get ready to close here is just see if there's any final comments you'd like to say, encourage people to engage. What would be a couple takeaways you'd have for industry partners, potential partners out there? Evelyn, if I could start with you.
Yeah, I would say introduce, as the student side, we want to hear different opinions from the industry. We want to know what kind of people they are looking for. And also we want to hear your opinion on our research. That will really help for the students. As well as for the students, feel free to say your question out. They are nice, they are not terrified. So just to speak out your words. Everything is welcome.
All right, very well. Miranda.
Yeah, same. We've had a great opportunity to interact with a lot of industry partners here, especially our career networking luncheon. I know Balchem helps support that. And what we see is the students really appreciate the opportunity to just connect with them on a personal level and understand, like what Evelyn said, what are they looking for you as a person as well as for your skill set. And I think creating a bridge to give people that opportunity, whether that's virtual or in person here at the meeting, is really important. So we want to continue to create those platforms for them.
Well said. Connor, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think investments in graduate students does not mean just an investment in your group or what your company is taking part in, but it's also an investment in the future of the dairy industry. You know, we have many different individuals here, and I go back to my time because I've been doing this a long time. Like when I was in undergrad and I was part of the officer team as well back then. This year and this past year, there were 3 individuals from the officer team who are now professors across the university. And, you don't know about that at that time, that you're going to be with people who are in undergrad at the same time you that are going to be professors, but like the mentorship and the outside outreach. And of course, there's other people focusing on industry roles too, but like across the spectrum there, like I met people before they're famous. I mean, I'm sure these folks up here will be famous here too, but involvement and support from industry can certainly help nurture and further the dairy industry as a whole together.
Yeah, we had Lautaro actually on one of the podcasts earlier
Former
today.
president.
Yeah, absolutely, with one of his students. I thought, wow, this is really cool.
Going full circle for sure.
Exactly. Maurice, thank you for organizing this today. Do you want to share any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, on behalf of the ADSA Foundation, you know, it's just a pleasure working with this younger generation. And we're sitting here with leaders, you know, and it's fascinating to just continue to watch them. And I just want to say on behalf of ADSA and GSD, it's thanks for partnering with us.
Glad to.
For example, on this grad student travel program, Connor was in leadership when that kicked off, and Evelyn carried the torch this year, and Balchem came through to continue to help us with this, and so we really appreciate you partnering with us.
All right. Thank you very much. Folks, appreciate you joining me today. This has been fun.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you.
Scott.
We'd love to hear your comments or ideas for topics and guests. So please reach out via email to anh.marketing@balchem.com with any suggestions, and we'll work hard to add them to the schedule. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on your way out. You can request your Real Science Exchange t-shirt in just a few easy steps. Just like or subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your address and t-shirt size to anh.marketing@balchem.com. Balchem's Real Science Lecture Series of webinars continues with ruminant-focused topics on the first Tuesday of every month, monogastric-focused topics on the second Tuesday of each month, and quarterly topics for the companion animal segment. Visit balchem.com/realscience to see the latest schedule and to register for upcoming webinars.